Hey there, have you ever had an epiphany? One of those kind of like, oh shit moments, like, damn, those kind of moments. Well, this video is kind of, well, I'm hoping that you'll kind of have that moment. So it's not one of those like, oh, I'm happy that I just realized this kind of moment. It's like, oh shit, well damn, like, oh fuck, like, okay, I didn't consider that. I didn't think about that. So let's consider this. First and foremost, just to kind of get an intro to this, like why I'm doing this video, like I do all videos. I don't listen to the news anymore. I used to listen to NPR on a regular basis and try to catch, opposing views like Fox News, because Fox News is more conservative Republican, while NPR is definitely more left-leaning liberal Democratic. So you kind of get a best of both worlds with those two. And the reason I do that is not so I can gobble up everything they say, like the majority of us do. It's just to kind of get an idea of what's going on. So generally Fox News will counteract or call out something that the left will not talk about. And the left will talk about things that the right won't talk about, or they'll talk about it in ways that are different, right? So therefore you can probably get a little bit more information, at least considerable information, from the two of them. And then of course, if you are an independent thinker such as I am, you can then walk away with that information and try to figure some things out, because here's the truth of it all. Unless it is like your super, small town local news giving a report about, Pippi the dog who had to wear a cone for 5 months and now is getting like the key to the city or something. Sure, fine. There may be no fabrication in that story. But anytime it's political news, world news, or societal news, or just big national news, you're never going to get the facts. It's 100%. You're never going to get all the facts. You're going to get half truths. And especially if it's political, where the biases are most definitely going to be present, you're only going to get half the story. So you have to take everything people say, even on the news, even from your favorite news station, with a grain of salt. And you're going to have to just think about it. Just consider what they're telling you and go from there. And then try to find other sources and do your own research if you really want to get as close to the truth as possible. You may never get as close to the truth as we should be, which is pretty much 100%, but we will get a little closer if we don't just gobble up everything they say. So I had stopped listening to the news. I had stopped listening to NPR because once you're aware of just all the lies and the sugarcoating and the beating around the bush that they're doing, it's really hard to listen to it and not get aggravated. And I don't want to be aggravated. I don't want to be stressed anymore. I want to be healthier and just live a healthier life and not bring bad energy to people and to myself. So it's really, really hard to listen to this stuff and just know that they're lying, and they may not be malicious lying, meaning like for NPR example, I would like to think that the people in NPR who do their investigative journaling are just unfortunately the victims of the same, the same information, so we're all basically getting the same information from the same people. And once you realize that all the news organizations and their journalists are owned by very few people in this country, you should understand that most everything you hear is either going to be scripted, and if some real journalists come forward and want to call out the truth, if it doesn't align with the political views and the biases of the owners of these networks, their story is not going to get out. And I used to kind of look at NPR like that, maybe like they're not here to, entertain you or to scare you in a weird way or anything like that. But that's not the truth. But again, they may not be maliciously lying to me, but I think they're sucking from the same informational pipe as the rest of us. So we're getting the same story, the same narrative, and we're just reporting it as news instead of doing our own independent investigative journaling. So just to kind of give a couple examples, I'm gonna talk about the two big ones. It's something that we should have learned from. There's a third one popping up, and that's the train derailments of all these chemicals. Mainly we've heard about Ohio, but apparently there's like 4 or 5 other places where this is happening all at once, relatively. And then of course now we have UFOs. We're talking about UFOs and stuff, and Chinese balloons. Like, it's such a distraction. It's not even funny. Like people are just screaming spy balloon, but yet even on NPR just 3 days ago they said that Central Intelligence doesn't have enough information to see if it was actually spyware or not, or spy equipment or not. But yet every headline you read, it's Chinese spy balloon, spy balloon, spy balloon, spy balloon. and it's just all about a PR tactic to make you think something that China is doing something malicious, and maybe they are, but maybe they're not. Maybe they're just trying to fuck with us because they know how silly we are. And just to give an idea of what I'm talking about is TikTok. That thing that everybody loves. It came from China, right? Well, the TikTok in China, the algorithm is all about making their people more intelligent. So they don't watch stupid people doing the same TikTok dances over and over and over and over, or watching all these epic fails of people falling. But don't get me wrong, it's fun, it's entertaining, it's fun to watch and everything like that. But that's what we want here, and that's our algorithm here, and that's why we're dumb. We're really just fucking retarded. We are. And so the Chinese algorithm for TikTok is all about intelligence and uplifting people who are geniuses, who are prodigies, who are doing good work, who can just help their overall society, while the algorithm in America and our TikTok is all about stupid dances. So really China is way ahead of us when it comes to intelligence. Like intellectually, they are way ahead of us. So they wouldn't use a balloon to spy on us for one. I mean, even if they did, they're just messing with us, but it doesn't matter. And of course, the talk about UFOs is really just kind of a distraction. And that's why they didn't talk about the spill disasters in Ohio until like 10 days later after they happened or something, because they don't want to report on that. It's bad stuff. And so that kind of ties into COVID in Ukraine. So let's just start with COVID, since COVID is the oldest story. It's vaccines, like the biggest story about the vaccines is that they didn't test for efficacy as to whether or not you can catch and spread COVID if you took the vaccine. Well, they never advertised that in the very beginning. What they advertised in the very beginning is that old people, overweight people, and other people with underlying conditions needed the vaccine because their immune system could be compromised, and therefore they would just need help with fighting off COVID, so therefore they wouldn't end up with a severe case. They never really talked about not catching COVID or keeping you from spreading COVID or anything like that. Now, as 2021 rolled around, yes, the very beginning of 2021, all of a sudden you start hearing all this information that you can take your mask off if you've gotten vaccinated, because you can't catch COVID, because you can't spread COVID, which is bullshit. And if you got the vaccine, you can get a vaccine passport, right? Remember that? Yeah. And so you were the only one who was allowed to get on the planes. You were the only ones who were allowed to get on the trains, maybe buses, maybe, right? But you were the only ones who were allowed to travel, right? If you were vaccinated, right? And so around every holiday, we saw a spike in cases, but we blamed it on the unvaccinated, which made no sense, because the unvaccinated could not travel, at least not to the links that the vaccinated could, right? Because of this whole vaccine passport kind of thing, right? Remember that? So that was just all BS. That was bullshit. But they did, even though initially they said that the vaccine was to help older people, with compromised immune systems, overweight people, and people with underlying conditions, and stuff like that. That's all it was for. But yet, like I said, they started then advertising. They really did. They started allowing everybody to believe that if you had the vaccine, and even Fauci said it directly, the best protection against catching COVID was the vaccine. And that's not true. The best protection against catching COVID was social distancing and the mask. And that's plain and simple. Well, why, Jarrett? Why would they lie to us? Well, they lied to you because the people, like Pfizer is a big one, Moderna too, but Pfizer is a big one. Just focus on Pfizer. Pfizer was doing their own research, and then Pfizer was also making the calls, giving the CDC recommendations and the White House the recommendations, instead of the CDC and Pfizer being two separate entities who were keeping each other in check. No, it didn't work like that. So Pfizer got what they wanted, so they would do these tests, these reports, do all this stuff, and then the data that they released to the public or to the scientific community for peer review was data that they just wanted to release. They didn't release all the data, and it's 100% true. And this happens all the time with every company, with every medicine creation, with every product creation. They don't release everything that they want to. That you think they do. They only release what they want to release, so therefore they can go forward with what they want to go forward with. Well, Jarrett, why would they do that? Well, it's all about money. It's greed. It's all about greed. So when they allowed, I'll just say they allowed, I mean, they did tweet directly from Pfizer that the people in South Africa wouldn't catch COVID if they had the vaccine, which was a lie, and they're trying to deny that, but it's true. The tweet is out there. It's public record. Come on. But they allowed, let's just say they allowed the American public to start fighting each other and calling each other murderers and stuff for not taking the vaccine. But yet the vaccine really only protected you. Well, Jared, there was a 90% efficacy against COVID. Well, maybe against alpha, and 90% efficacy was really only in like certain cases. And here's the thing too, you have to look at that. They didn't test for efficacy at the very beginning, which, you know, they said they didn't have to get it approved. Fine. So they didn't test for efficacy, and it was they were against the speed of the clock. Okay, fine, whatever, sure. But they said that they tested for efficacy after the vaccines went out. So therefore you were kind of like the live guinea pig for these vaccines, right? And that's okay. I understand. That's okay. That's fine. And I called the people who got the vaccines early pioneers, because really you were trying to see, you were going to be the one who filtered out any negative effects and stuff like that. And you were going to be the first guinea pigs signing up for it. And then I heard guinea pigs is not a bad term. It just means that, you know, you're going to be used for testing, right? And you were. And that's what they said. They said after it was released, they then began to follow studies to see if it did protect against catching and spreading. They claimed 90% efficacy, which I think that's bullshit, because here's what you have to understand. They made it to keep you from catching or from suffering severe illness. They gave it to you. They created it to keep you out of the hospital. They didn't create it to keep you from catching COVID. And they said they had to race against the clock, but yet they magically, by luck, got a 90% efficacy against catching and spreading COVID. Come on, really? Now, I will say that maybe for certain people, they could probably somehow jumble out a 90% efficacy. But here's what you have to understand. Everybody has a different immune system. Even if you're healthy, two extremely healthy people can have a weak immune system, the other one can have a strong immune system. So if these two people are vaccinated, the person who has the strong immune system probably fought off catching or spreading COVID or getting a bad infection of COVID because they had a good immune system. The vaccine probably didn't do anything to help them, but they have no way of telling whether it was a good immune system or if it was the vaccine. Right now, they could, you know, possibly put people who have like very terrible immune system, like, hey, you have HIV or you have AIDS, let's give you COVID after we give you this vaccine and let's just see what happens, you know, maybe, right? Like that would kind of be the only test that they can say like, nah, for sure, the vaccine definitely did this. And I don't think they did that. If they did do that and you know they did that, let me know. But I don't think they did that. So therefore, how could they claim 90% efficacy? 90%, that's a big number. How could they claim 90% efficacy without separating natural immunity and the COVID vaccine? How? You couldn't. You can't. So really, if you just say that somebody who took the vaccine didn't catch COVID or didn't have a severe case of COVID, it could have been because their natural immune system. And that's 100%. And that you can't argue against that. And unless they actually release their studies and you know for a fact that this is true, come on. So let's just pretend that, we'll just say 50. Let's say 50% efficacy. Let's say that the results really just averaged out between different people. Some people somehow represented 90% efficacy. Fine. Okay, let's say that. But let's average it out with the others who definitely probably didn't, right? So let's say about 50%. So say they gave you 50% protection, right? Okay, so they tested after they released. Guess what they made? Guess what variant they based the manufacturing of these vaccines off of? That's right, Alpha. So they had tons and tons and tons of vaccines, vials made for the vaccine made against the Alpha variant. Well, guess what? Here in the United States, when we were between 15 and 20% vaccinated, fully vaccinated, Delta was sitting in Texas. Delta started to spread, but they still kept pushing out the same vaccine that they made for the Alpha variant and still claiming that it had 90% efficacy. Well, wait a minute, hold on now. Like, so first off, you claim that you were able to test against natural immunity, claiming, you know, that you had a 90% efficacy with the vaccine, as if natural immunity was never a part of the equation, which is bullshit, I really think, but let's pretend that's true. But now Delta came around in the same vaccine, you still want to push the same findings that it's 90%? Come on, right? Oh, well, it went down a little bit with the variants. It went down a lot with the variants. Okay, you made a vaccine against the Alpha variant. Sure, it was a T-cell virus, blah, 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 is relatively the same thing. And I'm not arguing against severity of illness. I'm not arguing that the vaccine didn't help people stay out of the hospital because it kept some of these fucking T-cells from being as strong as they could, or whatever, however it works, right? I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to lie about that, okay? Or claim that I know about that. But I do know when Delta especially rolled around and Omicron rolled around, people who were fully vaccinated and boosted, up to date with their boosters, it's a crazy name, but anyway, up to date with their boosters, were getting Delta, were getting Omicron, and they were suffering severe illness, and they were catching COVID more than once. well, Jared, these people probably had a compromised immune system. Well, yes, they probably did. Just like the people in the studies would. They wouldn't come out with a 90% efficacy for everybody, but yet they advertise 90% efficacy for everybody, for every variant. This is bullshit. Well, Jared, why would they lie to us? Come on now, why would they lie to us? Money, greed, money. If they increase the demand for the vaccines, they get more government contracts. More government contracts means more money. Okay? They told people, and I know you remember this. In early 2021, when we were just getting to 15 to 20% vaccinated, Anthony Fauci himself came out and said, remove your mask and stop social distancing even inside if you have been vaccinated, if you have been fully vaccinated. What the fuck? So that's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Well, why would they do that, Jared? Why would they do that? Well, the only logical explanation for this, if they really cared about people, they weren't shutting down the economy, they were just saying social distance and wear your mask. So if the economy was open, people were allowed to go out to movies and travel and stuff like that, so people weren't really stuck in their houses and complaining. So why would they say that? Why would they say that? The only logical reason why they would say that is because Pfizer wanted to increase the rate of infection. Because if we wore masks and we social distance, well, really, if we shut the economy down completely and we ended the crisis and the pandemic of COVID, Pfizer would not be able to make as much money as they can. The crisis would be gone. The opportunities would cease to exist. So they had to continue the crisis. So I think they wanted people to catch COVID. They wanted people to catch Delta. And even if you want to pretend like, well, maybe they wanted people to catch Delta to see how it did against the vaccine, still, that's fucked up. It's fucked up. It really is. So I think, but really the only logical reason why they would tell you to take a mask off, even if the vaccine against the first variant offered 90% efficacy, they admit that it went down per variant. But as Delta variant, the one that was the most harmful and spread more than Alpha, they told you to take your mask off? They told you to stop social distancing? Come on. I mean, say what you want. You can pull as many strings from the sky as you want, but you will never make sense of that. Ever. The only thing that makes sense of that is they wanted to increase demand for the vaccine. And the only way that they saw to increase demand for the vaccine was to increase the infection rate. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. And all of you fell for it. You started fighting each other, claiming that the vaccine saved you, and it did not. Claiming that the vaccine saved other people, it did not. It only potentially, and I'm not going to argue it, I don't know, but I'm not going to argue it, it only helped the person who took the vaccine from catching severe illness. But again, I've heard plenty of people who were fully boosted, fully vaccinated, caught severe illnesses from Delta and Omicron. So let's just stop pretending with that. Let's jump straight into Ukraine. This whole Ukraine shit is fucking bullshit. It really is. Is Putin a piece of shit? Yeah, sure, Putin is a piece of shit. Does Putin want to own Ukraine? Yeah, he probably wants to own Ukraine. Guess what? So do the American oligarchs. So do the American oligarchs. And you don't even have to look this up in like DuckDuckGo or anything, or some secret, web search straight from Google. They won't even censor it because they think you're too stupid. And really, most of us are. We're too retarded. They advertise it. They brag about it. BlackRock, a huge umbrella company, one of the richest and most powerful fucking companies in the world, that own tons of news media agencies, that own tons of other companies, and have a big investment in the weapons industry. Guess what? Them, JP Morgan, and other people have signed contracts with Zelensky to rebuild Ukraine after the war. What? And you're probably thinking, well, yeah, that sounds good. Woo, we can help them. When they rebuild, every building on every plot is going to be owned by American enterprise. How is that for Ukraine's sovereignty? Every law that is going to be written in Ukraine, every politician that will have a successful career in Ukraine will be shouldering or pushing favor for BlackRock, JP Morgan, and all these. If not, they will not have a career. How is that for Ukraine democracy? How is it? How was that independence? No, this is called America owning Ukraine. So you're pulling for one wolf to fight another wolf because the American wolf is like, wolf, look, they invaded Ukraine. It's so stupid. And the war had started well before Russia moved in, but they don't tell you that. Why? Because they want the shock factor. That's a PR tactic. When they told you that, we'd be really surprised if Putin invaded, that would just show how unhinged he is. He moved his military to the border of Ukraine. Moved his military to the border of Ukraine. Under George Bush Sr., they faked photographs claiming that a rival army has moved to the border of another country. And they used that faked photograph. It was faked. They used that faked photograph to convince the Bush senior administration to go ahead and declare war and start fighting. And that's all it took. But yet when Russia actually moves, and really does move, their army to the border of Ukraine, we're all like, well, we'll be really surprised if he attacks. And all that was PR. That was all a PR tactic to make you feel super surprised and make you feel like Putin is unhinged if he attacked. I mean, it's plain and simple. Even if he said he wasn't going to attack, it's just laughable because he put all those logistic, all those resources, all that manpower into positioning his army at the border of Ukraine. But we all act like we're surprised, and then they get to point the finger at Putin as if what he did was just out of the blue, just completely what? Like, I can't believe it. It's crazy, right? And all of you fell for it. Most of us fell for it. You know why? Because they need us to focus on Russia being the bad guy while we be the bad guy. So therefore, you don't focus on the fact that America is looking for ownership of Ukraine. And guess what? They got it. If Putin does not succeed, the only last step is to kick Putin out. That's it. If Putin doesn't succeed, then guess what? America owns Ukraine. That is not Ukraine democracy. That is not Ukraine sovereignty. That is slavery. That's it. That's all it is. Like I said, every piece of land, every building that is built, BlackRock, JP Morgan, all of them, they will own it, not Ukraine. Every law, every politician, BlackRock and JP Morgan will own, not Ukraine. That is not democracy. That is not sovereignty. So that should be considerable enough for you to maybe think twice about your all-out blind patriotic support for the U.S. intervention in Ukraine. Shouldn't it? I mean, it should. I mean, a lot of you will find any way to excuse it. Oh, that's just normal. Companies, they always, we have to rely on them to come in and build all these, help other people out because da. And it's crazy because some of you will turn around and agree that America is not a nation or a republic of a free people. America is a corporation. That's it. America, our government peddles plenty of favors for corporations, more so than they do regular people. 100%, whether it's Trump, Biden, Bush, Obama, doesn't matter. Right? And there's always going to be missiles flying somewhere. And it used to be against the law, and it still kind of is against our Constitution, to throw missiles in another country without going through Congress and appropriating basically permission to basically just do wartime shit or go to war or declare war. But we have allowed ourselves, because we have grown up in nonstop wars, nonstop U.S. intervention, we have allowed ourselves to think that everything is just okay, that America is fine to unleash and police the world. America, the same America that dropped Agent Orange in Vietnam, should be the same America that polices the rest of the world against chemical warfare. Right? The same America that dropped 2 atomic bombs, Nagasaki and Hiroshima, after Japan surrendered, when they were just looking for terms for negotiation for surrender. And they dropped these 2 atomic bombs on what was about 90 to 95% civilian populated areas, Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Not military bases, and it claims to end the war. But that America who did that should be allowed to go around and police the world with nukes, regarding nuclear energy. Right? Like, how stupid can we be? How dumb can we be? There's a reason why if someone gets out of prison for theft, now I think people should be forgiven, but that's a whole different conversation. But if someone gets out of prison for theft, right, then maybe, I don't know, maybe it's petty theft, big theft, whatever. You're probably not going to want to make them the ones who run your cash register, right? I mean, probably not, right? And it's not discrimination. It's just using your fucking brain, realizing that, okay, well, I'm gonna see how they are as a person. I'm gonna let them handle other things, and we'll see how they go. Maybe they just made a real stupid decision one day and they've learned their lesson, and then we'll go forward from there. But that hasn't been America whatsoever. Like, we just now, I think Obama was the first one to apologize to Japan. It took almost 70 years. Maybe it was 70 years. Yeah, it took basically 70 years. Okay, almost 70 years. About 60-something years for us to even publicly apologize for that. We haven't apologized to Vietnam for Agent Orange yet, but yet people are still having birth defects from Agent Orange from the Vietnam War. But yet we are allowed to walk around pointing the fingers at other countries and other nations and other territories and talk about what they can and cannot do. And we act like we should trust America to do so, even though things have just gotten worse domestically for America, 100%. I had some foreigner one day said, it's always been my dream to come to America. I just said, why? And then they started babbling off all some America's so great, America's this, America's that, and you know what? I just said, okay, well, good luck with your endeavors. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to hurt their dreams. But it's not true. You know what we advertise from the outside, except for what Europe sees it. Most of them, well, some of them, right? What we advertise on the outside is America's so great, America's so wonderful, America's this, America's the land of opportunity. But yet, once they come here, they start to realize, no, America is biased, racist, and it really only peddles favor for corporations. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer, more divided, and we keep fighting each other over stupid stuff like the COVID vaccines, when there was no proof of efficacy, really, whatsoever. And the fact that even if they claim they did a study, again, you know, like we talked about in the beginning of the last video, even if they claim to do a study, first off, how do you get 90% efficacy? For everyone? No. You probably just took the best numbers you could, even if you did a study. If Pfizer did a study, they probably just took the best numbers they could. Again, remember, they only release the data that will work in their favor. They're not going to give the kind of data that gives them a slap on the wrist. They're not going to give the data that says, well, we got to stop production and go fix something. No, because that means more resource, more manpower, more money spent by Pfizer. Really, all they want to do is get money. You get what I'm saying? Just like Putin. He just wants Ukraine. Just like the U.S. oligarchs. They just want Ukraine. Greed, greed, greed. BlackRock, JP Morgan own Ukraine now. They get in the thing. Well, not now. If Putin does something, then that'll save Ukraine from American imperialism. But they may fall victim to Russian imperialism, if that's what you can call it. Okay? But that's exactly what they did with that data. You know, they just release what they want. They tell you what they want you to know. And then you go off of it without asking questions, because God forbid you be a conspiracy theorist. And it's so stupid. And that's how they get you. That's how they get you. You know, the right is burning books and the left is trying to censor everybody. These are the same rich oligarchs doing the same objective. The left wants to censor everybody because I need to be recognized and my feelings matter, and you're not allowed to say stuff that hurts my feelings. And then the right's like, oh my God, this book has talking animals in it. We should burn it. When the Bible that they praise so much has talking fucking serpents in it. Like, right? And every depiction of Adam and Eve, they have a belly button. If they were just created, how the fuck did they have a belly button, and why? Anyway, that's a totally different story. Okay? So it's just like I said, it's just like with the vaccine and stuff. They'll do anything to keep us stupid, to keep us occupied, to keep us fighting with each other. We're starting to realize some of us are starting to realize this whole Ukraine thing is not what it seems. Even if it's simply an argument for spending too much money, which we are. Even if it's just based off that argument, American support is somewhat dwindling. So now we have these conversations about fucking Chinese spy balloons and shit, you know, and the whole UFO fucking shit, while at the same time we ignore these chemical spills from these train derailments that are happening in 4 or 5 different states at the same time, right? And I think that's because we're starting to wake up to this whole Ukraine thing. And when BlackRock and JP Morgan and others basically bragged about these contracts that they got with Zelensky, I think it may have, you know, some eyebrows probably rose. Like, what? And they're like, oh shit, too far. Not everybody in the country is dumb enough to fall for this stuff. So give them something else. Taiwan. Yeah, Taiwan. Oh, no, they're not falling for that. Well, can't talk about the chemical spill. That doesn't help us. Oh my gosh, Chinese spy balloon. What? It's going to go over the entire country. But we're not going to shoot it down because we don't want people to get hurt. As if every acre of our countryside is overpopulated. Like, they couldn't find a field, a mountainside, a hillside, maybe even a little pond to drop this thing in. No, they let it go across the entire nation, but then it became a danger. It became a threat to national security. After it crossed the entire country, then they shot it down over the ocean and then claimed, no, we're having troubles recovering the wreckage, but we definitely know it's a spy balloon. What? So why the fuck would you shoot it down over the water when you could just recover the wreckage more easily over the land, like on the land? Like, that makes sense. Well, we don't want people to get hurt. Well, again, nobody lives there. 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 Look, over there, there's a 50-mile radius where nobody fucking lives. Look, there's a mountainside. You can recover from there if it really was important. But you know it's not important. You know it's not important. It's just a distraction. So come on, like, you know, well, we fought for it. And now they're taking it as far as UFOs. Jets crash with UFOs. Like, we're back to this again. I'm not saying that there isn't extraterrestrial life, but I seriously doubt they would come here just as like we got to go down to their skies. Like, we can make it from our planet to their planet. We have that technology. But when we get there, we're just going to make ourselves visible, and we're going to mess around with their military jets and be like, catch me if you can. Like, really? Like really? Like, and you believe this stuff. You believe it. And you're allowing it to distract you, and you're coming up with more crazy conspiracy theories, and then you're going to spread those stories, and then the people who want you to be distracted to be like, well, yes, people are definitely lizards. Yeah, go with that story. Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about flat earth and lizards, right? And it makes no sense, but you will. Just like QAnon. You distracted yourself with that, you know? And it's crazy. It's stupid. Like, when are we going to get it? When are we going to understand this? When? Well, Jared, you know, I don't know, man. Like, this is like kind of turning my whole belief system like upside down, and it really makes me uncomfortable. And I really just rather retire and just say that you're stupid and that you know nothing, that you're a Putin sympathizer and you're an anti-vaxxer, because that'll make me feel better. Even though I really have no grounds to say that. Even though you have said that Putin is crazy and that you support the idea that maybe the vaccines did help people not die, but you're definitely still an anti-vaxxer and a Putin sympathizer. Yeah. And I'm smarter than you. Yeah. And what I've been told is true because I'm an expert. Well, I'm not an expert, but neither are you. But what I have been told is true because people don't lie. Our government never lied. Has never lied about anything. Yeah. Are you getting that crazy? Doesn't that sound crazy? But that's how most of you think in your head. It is. And I say think, and that's kind of giving you too much of a compliment. You don't think, you just react. And don't worry. It affects a lot of us. Because we're human. The human condition. Really, it is. All these PR tactics are based off studies upon studies upon studies upon studies upon studies of the human psyche, the human condition, and how it is that we react. Every advertisement for every car, every advertisement for every lawyer, which advertising for lawyers used to be illegal, but it's not anymore. So every advertisement for lawyers, every advertisement for chainsaws, every advertisement for food, every advertisement for cleaning products, every advertisement for, I don't know, the American lawn, what the American lawn's supposed to look like, every political idea, every politician and their ideas, every big major government move is wrapped in PR, public relations. And you're probably wondering, well, that doesn't make any sense, but at the same time it does, because yeah, we are people and the public matters. Well, no, but when they study individuals and know how to make them react to manufacture their consent, as they have manufactured your consent for COVID and the vaccines. Remember, a lot of you were pushing for mandatory vaccines. And the efficacy bullshit is just bullshit. So, and why did they want you to push for mandatory vaccines? Because that would have been more money for Pfizer. Greed. That's it. Greed. 100% greed. I don't think they were out there to kill you. They weren't out there to kill you. People who make money off your consumerism and your slave employee labor. No. They need you alive. So you'll buy their shit and then work your ass off for no pay, but still turn around and buy their shit. That's what keeps them rich, right? But most of you fell for it, and you're still defended, even though it's coming out today that, oh, well, no, we weren't supposed to test for efficacy before releasing. It's like, okay, fine. But how did the nation get led into believing that it was there to protect you. Well, we really didn't say that. We tweeted that South Africa wouldn't catch COVID if they had our vaccines, which was a lie. But we really didn't say that. And here's the reason they're denying that they even said it, period. It's because they know it's not true. And if they got caught with advertising that it was true, then they're screwed. And if you're like, well, Jared, no, they did. Remember, you even said they tested for efficacy after it was released. Yes, but the reality of things was that people were still getting severely sick from Delta and Omicron, especially, and even Alpha, but especially Delta and Omicron. When I was being called a murderer of babies in Texas, I never even been to Texas. I live in fucking Virginia. Never even traveled to Texas. Never cared to travel to Texas. But someone said that I was responsible for the death of babies in Texas. This is the kind of crazy phenomenon of a hysteria that most of you went through. But yet you pointed the finger at anybody else who said, guys, hold up, chill. Wait, hold on. No, shut up, conspiracy theorists. Shut up, anti-vaxxer. You're a murderer. You don't care about people. Look, I got the logo on mine that says I got my COVID vaccine. Woo, I'm a hero. Woo. No, you're not. I mean, you got the COVID vaccine to protect yourself. Cool. I hope you made that choice with a wise mind and not with a fearful mind. Because a lot of people were forced or pressured into getting the vaccine because the nation was led to believe that if you had the vaccine, you were helping other people. Even Joe Biden even came out and said that, like, oh, we're trying to get rid of COVID, but half of you won't get vaccinated. It's your fault. No. So let's just further drive the wedge of that division. Literally said it. Said it. Why? Because Pfizer was giving the orders to the White House, giving the orders to the CDC, and pretty much running anything they wanted with the WHO. You want to know why? Because the people who favor corporations, who give into bribes, and who just want to see something go in their favor in one way or another are the people who run these organizations, who run these institutions. Look at the FDA. Simply look at the FDA. Pull up the FDA, find out who the big top dogs are for the FDA, and then do a history search on their careers. I say over 60%, even if it's just 50, I say over 60% have a background with a certain medical or pharmaceutical company, whether it's for medical devices or it's for pharmaceutical like pills altogether. But you'll pretend as if they in no way will have biased opinions when these companies that they used to work for then come in asking for something to get approved. They just give them a big check and say, here's an incentive for you to approve this. Plus, you work here. And guess what? If they don't work there or they don't have any history, people from the FDA are now picking up jobs on the boards of these big pharmaceutical companies and telling them how to get past all the red tape, how to get their shit approved, not going through the proper channels. But all you people still defend Big Pharma as if they have never lied to you. Johnson & Johnson, responsible for the biggest opioid crisis ever. We're the only one, really. But anyway, huge. Many million, thousands of people suffered. They lied about not knowing it was addictive. They knew it was addictive, but they lied about it, and they were caught bragging about it. They had plenty of papers, plenty of records, plenty of old emails of them bragging about the shit, how fast they were peddling it, how fast they were pushing these opioids, because people are addicted to it. But yet Johnson & Johnson initially got a contract for the vaccines. Pfizer, back in 2012, settled on charges for bribery. But no, we're supposed to trust them 100%. No, they learned their lesson then. No, they didn't. And they won't. Nothing's going to change. Jared, why are you getting so energetic? Really, I'm fine. I'm happy. I promise you. I'm really happy. I am just energetic with this because there is so much noise out here now. And this is all part of PR. All the colors, all the bright lights, all the images, all the noises. Why do you think Fox News is so like da-da-da-da? And what's her face from MSNBC or ABC or whatever it is? I forgot her name. Like I said, I don't follow this stuff. But I have to break through the noise. And the only way to break through the noise is to offer some more noise. Real loud noise. I would love this to be like, all right, guys, so just listen. This is what we're dealing with. But you won't listen to that shit. It won't break through your shit. Well, Jarrett, you're causing me to get into a fight and flight mode. So, guess what? Everything you see or hear on the news regarding Ukraine, regarding COVID, regarding anything, really, it's going to be based on fear and hope as a driver. They're already tapping into your subconscious, whatever. Okay, they're tapping into that fight or flight mode for you, and you're reacting to that already. So yes, I have to kind of step up my game and call it out for what it is. And the last thing I want to say to you is, some of you might be asking, well, Jarrett, why would, if these companies wanted to own Ukraine and they already had Zelensky in power, who would probably be like, yeah, come on in, why would they encourage Russia to invade? Why was it not unprovoked? Well, it was definitely provoked. We know that because there was a coup. I mean, that's part of provocation. And throughout the history, we've been blaming Russia for everything. Lying about Russia, about everything. Doesn't mean that they're great. Doesn't mean the KGB and the USSR was great, and that Russia now is phenomenal, or that Putin isn't a bad person. Doesn't mean any of that. But we've been placing blame on them, doing PR campaigns against Russia since the beginning of time. The reason why we encouraged or provoked Russia to invade, because we wanted them to, is because not only will the economy be destabilized, a cheap economy is, well, a cheap economy that's cheap for purchase, saves a lot of money for people who want to take it over. And number two, infrastructure. A lot of infrastructure has been destroyed, which makes Ukraine overall cheaper and more desperate. You put them in that situation, you get the deals that you want, as the BlackRock people, as the JP Morgan people, as the other people of every other company who wants to invest. This is an investment. This is not a savior moment for Ukraine. This is not about independence. This is not about sovereignty. This is not about democracy for Ukrainians. This is about greed. This is about ownership of Ukraine. We don't want Russia to do it, and that's all you hear, but you don't realize that we don't want Russia to do it because we want to do it, and we are doing it. So think about that before you go blindly supporting things again. You probably won't. A lot of you probably stopped watching this video a long time ago. If you hadn't, I appreciate it. I know it's a long thing. Anyway, much love, peace, and talk to you later.